What is good, guys? It's your boy Smith back with another one. We about to take a trip back to the top with the top 5 most adorable geckos on this planet. Let's get it. Coming in at number 5, we got the leopard gecko. Now, the leopard gecko is one of the most common geckos in the pet trade, and that's for really good reason. They're super easy to handle. They're easy to take care of. They come in a whole host of colors, from whites to blacks to reds, yellows, orange, and white. There's so many colors when it comes to these animals. They're absolutely marvelous. And a lot of these animals tolerate handling pretty well. I mean, I'll take one of these geckos and hand it to one of my children. Like, they make it super easy to get into handling reptiles, even like knocking that fear out of lizards, small lizards, big lizards, any lizards in general. They're a real good candidate for helping get rid of your fear of reptiles. They're real easy to handle, and they make it easy for people to really get into the pet trade, whether that just be taking care of reptiles or breeding. And their enclosure doesn't need to be like super crazy, big, and elaborate. Now, you know how we do over here at All Things Living. We like things to be like larger than life, but they're cool just living in bin systems. There have been people breeding these animals for 10, 15, 20, 30 years and have been breeding them in bin systems, no problems, no health issues. These animals live long, healthy, full lives that way. We just like to give them bigger enclosures. So if you can, give them as much space as you can, but you don't have to. They'll do fine in a 20-gallon tank. And so long as you make sure to supplement your animal's diet with the proper like calcium and multivitamin or whatever, you'll have your gecko for 15, 20 years. They live forever. They're almost bulletproof. These animals are super strong. They tolerate a lot. Yeah, you take care of them, they'll be around for a long time. Now, I love leopard geckos because they're super friendly. Like, I could open the front of the enclosures and a lot of them would just come out of the enclosure. Not only that, but if you look at them like directly on, a lot of these geckos just look like they're smiling all the time, and the way that their brows are shaped, they just generally look like happy animals. They're absolutely adorable. I love leopard geckos. We just got into breeding here. We have a couple projects going on. I can't wait to see what the future brings with these leopard geckos. They're absolutely adorable. Moving along. Coming in at number 4, we have the crested gecko, or the eyelash gecko. This is another super common gecko in the pet trade, being bred by almost anyone who's breeding geckos. That's like a staple in the pet trade, like the ball python is for snakes. That's the crested gecko for geckos. Everybody has them, so finding them is pretty easy. It's relatively easy. And once again, you have a whole host of colors, from white to your deep darks, your reds, your yellows, oranges. There's so much variation when it comes to these animals, and new morphs being produced yearly, daily, monthly. The new morphs being produced all the time. This is an absolutely amazing animal in the pet trade, and I love watching what people are doing because I don't breed crested geckos. I don't own any crested geckos actually, but I love seeing what the community is doing with crested geckos and the new projects that are popping up every year. It is absolutely stunning. Now, these animals are super easy to care for, just like the leopard gecko. In fact, a lot of people think that they're easier to care for than the leopard gecko because they take like a prepared diet. You could feed them like rapacia or Pangea. Yeah, so they're really easy to care for. Also, they don't require any like crazy lighting requirements. Your UV and your heat, it's like room temperature, and they're nocturnal animals, so you don't have to really worry about UV, although we still give them UV. But they don't need it. They do fine just without it. So these animals are super easy to care for, just like the leopard gecko. Now, these animals got much of the same thing that the leopard gecko got going on. When you look at them, they look like they're always smiling. They look happy all the time. And they have these big eyelashes that kind of accent their faces. They're a delight to look at. If you set up a nice enclosure for them, you got it nice and bioactive, good plants in there, and some height to it, you have a pretty cool animal, not only to look at in its enclosure, but in general. And these animals are super easy on plants. If you decide to plant it like bioactive or naturalistic, however you decide to go about that. If you decide to plant your tank out, these animals are super easy on plants. They're very delicate in their nature, how they move, how they hunt, how they do everything. Plant you a nice tall tank, fill it to the brim with plants, and give that animal everything you can. They're adorable. Coming in at number 3, we have the giant day gecko. I just started breeding these animals probably about a year ago. I've hatched out so many so far. Love the giant day gecko. You don't have to know anything about these geckos to have seen this gecko before. This is the gecko gecko, the one that's been advertised on the commercials for the past 25 years, which has also pushed its popularity in the hobby to the top 2. Everybody's breeding them. I love them. I love their colors. I love how they look inside of enclosures. I love how they move, how they act. I love their overall personality in general. These animals are beautiful. Highlighter green, which are these neon reds and oranges and bands and blotches all over them. They're absolutely beautiful. I actually have a breeding program going on with these animals. I'm breeding in 2 different directions. I'm breeding for patternless, so just all neon green day geckos, and then on the other side I'm breeding for as much red as I can get. I want to push all the green out and bring the red to the surface and just make an all red day gecko. And I know with enough time we'll be able to do it. I'm watching things happen in the shadows and we're almost there. But these animals are absolutely beautiful. And this is another animal, like I said, that's really good for like your bioactive enclosure, your naturalistic enclosure. They're super active, very attractive, bring any enclosure to life, I promise you. And if you do your research, you can cohab these animals. I do. All of my females cohab with a bunch of, I have a whole ecosystem, but all of my females cohab with my caiman lizards, and they are literally the best of friends. They hang out with the caiman lizards, but they never hang out with each other. Caiman lizard is cool with all of the geckos, but the geckos really don't hang out much with each other. It's kind of strange, but it's cool. And as far as care, like I said, this is another one that's not too demanding. I'm not gonna go get into all of the details as far as the care for this animal goes. This is not a care guide. So we're just talking about very adorable, beautiful animals. And like I said, when it comes to the cohabbing, like it's definitely possible. I cohab a lot of mine, but do your research and make sure that you give these animals enough space. Even the females, you have even siblings. I've seen siblings go at it if not given enough space. So make sure, just do your research before you go putting any of these animals together. Now this gecko is not really a fan of handling. They don't really want it. They're not dealing with that at all. They have many ways to escape handling and predators in general. Like generally just a hands-off species, but with enough work, it can definitely be done. I've seen it. I've seen day geckos that will come out and hang out with their owners. Mine, I could tongue feed, no problem, door open. It is not an issue. I still get scared because they're super fast. If they get out, it's a problem. And as you know, I produce these animals year round. I'm finding new eggs every month. I'm finding new eggs. I thought they were done, but apparently not. I'm still finding new eggs, and even when I'm not finding eggs, I find babies inside of the enclosure, which is kind of cool. That means the enclosures are done well enough that it incubates eggs and hatches babies successfully. Dope. There's still a lot of work to do with these animals, and every time I hatch a new baby, I get so happy and excited. I love seeing them, the way they hatch, their coloration, the way they grow. It's just, they're absolutely adorable. I love these animals. Coming in at number 2, we got the Toki gecko. Now the Toki gecko has to be one of the most beautiful, just hands down beautiful geckos on this planet. But they have huge attitudes. Not one I'm gonna be handling. But Toki geckos are marvelous, even in their base form. They're usually like an ice blue with these deep red or orange spots on them. Sometimes like a muted blue, almost white with the red spots. This is an animal I don't even need a morph for a Toki gecko. Give me a normal healthy Toki gecko, and I'll be fine. These animals are beautiful. This is a nocturnal arboreal gecko, so it spends a lot of its time in the trees at night. And if you set up your enclosure, you want to set it up just like that, taller over wide. Give them the impression that they're climbing from the ground to the trees for overall better behavior with your animal. Now, although the Toki gecko is just adorable, they do not tolerate handling. And I'm not going to say this is for every single case. Like, every Toki gecko that just, you can't handle them, because there are many Toki geckos that can be handled, but generally these animals don't play that mess. They bite, and they bite hard, and they don't like to let go. This isn't one I would recommend that you get to a child, or even somebody who isn't really well versed in dealing with reptiles or animals in general. Don't go handing your Toki gecko to your friend just because he wanted to see it, he wanted you to get it out, because if it latches onto him, it's gonna hurt. And Toki geckos get anywhere from like 12 to 15 inches. This is a big gecko, big bodied gecko too. It's not just long. This is a big bodied gecko with a nice set of jaws on it and a huge bite. Huge attitude too. They're not afraid to take it there. So be careful when you're dealing with the Toki geckos. Do like I do, set up a nice bioactive enclosure and look at it through the glass. But the Toki gecko mating call has to be the coolest and most adorable thing I've ever heard. And the fact that these animals build family units and mama and papa will go so hard to protect their young, that to me is just amazing. I love animals who actually take care of their own. This is why I go so hard for my red-eye crocodile skinks. I love how they build family units, and every member of the family has a role, making sure that the younger siblings in the family make it. And I love that. I think that's amazing. These animals are beautiful. All right, y'all, coming in at number 1, we have the Webfoot gecko. Now look, I've been seeing this gecko in the trade for years, and every single time I see it, the feeling is the same. Like, this is hands down number 1, the most adorable gecko on the planet. Have you seen? Look at him. Look at him. I'll give you a second. Look at him. Now, I don't even keep Webfoot geckos, but this will be the first desert species that I get into. They're absolutely adorable. Just look at them. Like I said, these things are beautiful little animals. They only get about 5 inches long. Super easy to care for. We're gonna give them a nice big, like 4 or 5 foot tank. Put a bunch of females in there, a male, and just let them live their lives out and do their thing. It's gonna be dope. This animal has made me want to get into desert species. Y'all know me, I do a lot of the jungle species. I'm pretty good with dealing with those. I know how to deal with those parameters really well, but I don't know anything about the desert dwelling species. So this will be the first one that I get into, and I can't wait. This is one of those animals that you can cohab, you know, but this is not a care guide. Once again, do your research, make sure you know what you're talking about, and you get these animals from people who know what they're talking about. And this animal usually live, like in the wild, they live about 5 to 6 years in captivity. Once again, you know how we do. You take care of them, they'll be around 10 to 15 years, their lifespan, about 10 to 15 years. So take care of your animal, he'll be around for a while. He'll or she'll be around for a long time. A great display animal for people well versed with desert species. If you're good with like bearded dragons, and I don't mean just like your bearded dragon is surviving, I mean your bearded dragon is thriving. You do good with desert species, your monitors, Aki monitors, things like that. I think this might be a good species for you. They stay relatively small, so they don't take up a lot of space, but you can give them as much space as you want. I'd give them, like I said, we're going big. We're going to the moon with this. This animal is absolutely beautiful. Big eyes with these vertical pupils. They're like super good at seeing at night. They're nocturnal animals, so they're gonna do a lot of their moving around and hunting and anything like that. They're gonna do a lot of that at night. These animals have these big hypnotizing eyes, and they get me every time. Like I said, the feeling's always the same. It never changes. And that's why I will be working with this animal. I love them. They're absolutely beautiful, marvelous, adorable. And they come in a little bit of color variation. They usually come like this deep bronze, almost gold with like pinkish undertones on their top, and then it'll fade into white on their belly. They're beautiful. They have a lot of colors that go into them. I'm looking forward to really getting into breeding and seeing what comes from these animals in the future. I think if any morphs come out, they're gonna look adorable. They're already the most adorable gecko on the planet. When the colors start coming out, oh man, I can't wait. And that was the list, guys. Tell me what you thought. If you think there are some geckos that are more adorable and deserve to be on the list, we'll do another list for them. Why not? Why don't y'all leave those down in the comments? We can talk about it. Go ahead, like, subscribe if you have to. We're gonna be doing top 5s on everything all over the planet. This is all all things living, not just some things living. You understand? Yeah, I'm your boy Smith. Thanks for tuning in with me, man. I really do appreciate you guys. You could have been anywhere on the planet, but you decided to be here with me, and that means a lot. All right, we out.